everybody, and welcome to a new sort of thing that we're going to be doing from now on, called In Conversation. Long form interview videos with some of the biggest names in rock and metal from around the world. We start this series with one of the classic voices of rock, Paul Shortino. Famous for King Kobra, Rough Cutt, Hearing Aid, you name it. You know this guy. He was born on May the 14th, 1953 in Ohio. Now he lives in Vegas with Carmen, his lovely wife. He's been the singer with bands like the Rough Cutt, The Cut, Quiet Riot, Bad Boys, Shortino with J.K. Northrup, King Kobra, and he was one of the vocalists on the Hearing Aid project. He also wrote and performed Eggman. Yep, the theme for Dr. Eggman in Sonic Adventures 2. Varied career? I think so. He played Duke Fame as well in the film This Is Spinal Tap, a clip which is playing along with this introduction. He is currently a member of King Kobra and also performs in the cast of Raiding the Rock Vault at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. That's where a group of classic rock musicians play some of the all-time classic rock songs from the 80s and early 90s. It really is a show. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, go and check it out. He's also got a brand new project called Blue Dahlia, which is on DDR Music, and the new debut album is self-titled, and that features none other than Tracy G, someone that Paul knows from quite a while back, having been good friends with Ronnie Dio and Wendy Dio. Tracy G did of course play on some Dio songs. His old friend Vinny Appice is banging the drums on this one as well. New single from this album is called, appropriately, We Will Rise. It's been released by DDR Music Group, and having heard it, it's every bit as good as anything Paul Shortino has put out ever. It is great.
About that, you know, and unbelievable with technology these days. So yeah. I'm actually right now working with Carmine, and we're doing a King Kobra record that's going to come out next year on Cleopatra Records. And we've got Rowan Robertson on there playing guitar, and Carlos Cavazzo, Carmine a piece, and then Johnny Rod, the original bass player from King Kobra, and then myself. And the music's kind of it's got a little 80s feel, but it's more 70s, kind of late 70s vibe to it. And the title of the album is Music is a Piece of Art. And the whole, they're going to put it, I think they're releasing some of these, some of it on vinyl and then CDs and then, you know, Spotify or iTunes or whatever, the digital world. But the cover is just beautiful. I got a friend of mine who's a tattoo artist that's putting it together. It's got Carmine's kick drums with the KK on it, King Kobra, and then it has a guitar at the bottom underneath the kick drums, and then the neck of the guitar goes between the drums, the two kick drums, and at the top is an old kind of mic like from the 50s that Elvis used. And then it has all of these psychedelic colors, you know, going back to the psychedelic time period, you know, so we're kind of bringing back a little bit of that, but there's some really good songs on this. And I'm really, one thing COVID has done is, thank God I've got a studio in the house. My friend and best friend and myself, we put together a company called Music Works in studio. And after moving out of the studio, we've got stuff stashed everywhere. We had to move a B3, and we had to get rid of a grand piano. And so a lot of stuff has been in storage, and I've been so lucky just to have enough of it in my house so I could record during this period of COVID that has been so heavy on people's lives all the way across the world. And so I've been fortunate on that end. I've been keeping busy writing good music, and you know, I've been very fortunate that I didn't have to go anywhere, because some you know, part of this time period that we've all been experiences that we had complete lockdown to where no one could really leave. So, you know, and that kind of is crazy with your immune system, because our immune system is kind of put together to fight off germs. And if you kind of put everyone under quarantine, people are going to get sick when they go out, you know.
Which is what's happening.
Yeah, I think so. And there's going to be, you know, who knows? I think it's kind of like the flu. I don't think it's a vaccine as much as I think it's like a flu shot, you know, because you have to keep getting a booster. And I remember when I was a kid, I got a polio shot. And that was good for, I'm still, you know, still have the scar from it. But, you know, there are certain shots out there that I would consider more a vaccine, like shingles, and tetanus is good for 10 years and stuff like that. So, you know, it's easier just to comply with what's going on. But I think people are getting a little angst and a little fed up with what's going on around the world. I look at Australia, I feel for those folks. You know, It's opening up a little bit everywhere for some folks, but it seems to be getting worse for other folks in other parts of the world. So who knows?
And it's affected the music industry more profoundly than anybody else.
And also the bar business, because that's where music goes.
Yeah.
That's where people go, you know, to, you know, drink their troubles away or listen to some good music, hang out with friends. It's kept people away from each other. It's divided people, you know, to where what I don't understand is how the unvaxxed are affecting the vax. You know, if somebody doesn't want to get vaxxed, then maybe they're going to have more chance of getting it. But the way people that have taken the vax are still getting ill. So that, to me, that does, you know, why would you want to put something in your system that isn't, hasn't been fully tested right now, or to some extent? There's so many different things that are going on with that. I've had so many friends that have had good reactions and bad reactions. So it's really confusing to me. And I kind of just, people send me stuff all the time. And have you heard about this? Or did you hear about that? And this is going on. I've had friends that have lost limbs and stuff from it. And then I've had friends that had no reaction at all. So because our bodies are different, and because our immune system and our systems are different, it's going to affect everyone differently. I just found out recently that I'm allergic to the flu shot. So I didn't get it that many times, but every time I did get it, I got so sick that I actually would get walking pneumonia. I couldn't believe it. So who knows? I'm kind of you know, leery about anything anymore. So but I'm grateful that I said, at my age, I still got my teeth in my hair, and I still got
and what good hair it is as well.
Who's 44 now? He doesn't have he didn't get my side of the family hair. He got my wife. So he shaves his head. You know, he's got some up there, but he says, I can't grow anything on my face, and he can grow a beard within, you know, a couple days. So he's got hair everywhere else except for where up here, and that's the only place I really have it. It takes me, I think it took me a year to grow a soul patch. It only took 5 seconds to get rid of it. So yeah, I'm not really, I don't have much hair on the face, and I guess I'm grateful for that. But I've always wanted to grow a mustache, and every time I have, I've looked like Jose. It's not even a good Jimi Hendrix mustache, you know. I mean, he had a cool mustache. It just was thin. You know, mine looks like Miguel from across the border, or, you know, just Mexico or El Salvador. I don't know, but it's pathetic. But I'm just really grateful to be above ground in these days, you know. And I wish
you've got an amazing history in rock as well to look back on.
I wish everybody out there good health, and, you know, all those people who feel they need to take the vax, and all those who don't. I feel for both of them. I'm not condemning either side. I honestly think that people should do what's in their heart, and if they feel that they need to do that. But I do still believe that, you know, my body, my choice, you know, and I think that people should still respect that. There's just so much hate and anger out there right now. It's unbelievable. So I just try to write songs that are really good and positive. On the Blue Dahlia record, on the very last, the last song is just me and Tracy. And I asked this girl who is a violinist here in Las Vegas, and she was in Rome at the time. And I asked her if she would, I'm going to see if I can move this a little closer, closer shot of my head. There we go. Anyways, she was in Rome, and I asked her if she put some violin on this song. And actually, I wrote the song about my relationship with the Almighty, and it's called "Count on You." And it's a really beautiful song, and it ends the record. And she played a beautiful, beautiful violin solo on it, and it's haunting. It's very haunting, but it can relate to a relationship with people, you know, that someone's always there. Mom and dad, your best friend, your dog, your spouse, you know. It's left to whatever impression you want. But my feelings at the time were reaching out to the Almighty under these circumstances that we're all going through, that, you know, I can always count on you to lift me up even when I'm blue and stuff. And so it's a pretty cool track. There's some really neat stuff, and there's another song in there, "I've Fallen from Grace," which is really heavy, you know, and it pretty much talks like, you know, about we've been living in a season of hell, you know. And it seems like that's exactly what's been going on, and it happened overnight. It's crazy, you know. I mean, I never ever thought anything like this could even happen, but we've been told that the New World Order, that this is something that's been going on that they've been working on this for decades. So they finally got it to start, to see, you know, see how far they could push people. And I think they've pushed people to the brink of where they're really losing it.
Yeah. I mean, you know? Certainly, as you say, they're blocking one of the key forms of human expression, which is getting together and talking as a group. The key human expression of singing and writing music and performing music, which has been a human right ever since humans first uttered the first umbongo. You know, it's been such a part of humanity. To suddenly say, well, you can't sing is ridiculous.
Right. And it's healing. People gathering together and singing, you know, people can't even go to church, but they can riot. I mean, you know, so it's kind of hypocritical about what's going on. You know, there's rules for me and rules for thee, pretty much. And I think people are catching on to that. But, you know, it's going to take more than that for people to turn things around. You know, the whole system that is it seems like Western culture is crazy right now. It's Sweden never, I don't think they ever closed down. They put the people that were in danger in quarantine and let life go on. I think that's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Good truth then. Oh yeah, because you know, we get news over here, and I don't even watch the news anymore because it's just so propaganda, you know. And you go on social media, I just try to post things that are positive because everybody is so hateful, and I feel bad for comedians. They, you know, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, some of these guys, you know, Monty Python, you know, the woke generation, they don't know how to, and they don't know how to laugh anymore. Everything is
well, I mean, a classic example is the kind of 80s era and early 90s era of hard rock, which in this day and age would be seriously frowned upon. When you consider the subject matter of many songs, the album covers, they'd have a hissy fit over these days and insist that we just paint it all white, we just a sticker on. So, I mean, from your perspective, as a musician who considers his artistic freedom a key aspect of who you are, to sing songs about what you want, to write songs about what you want, it's very limiting for you, isn't it? Well, if I release this song, are the Woke Brigade going to cancel me? Right.
Well, that's totally exactly true. Unless you're doing rap. I mean, if you take out the music of rap and just listen to the lyrics, wow, you know, it's and I like some of the rap that's out there. There's some really good stuff, but a lot of the stuff that's out there now is crap. You know, I mean, what they're talking about, that should be censored more than what some of the heavy metal and some of the heavy rock that's out there. But it seems like they want to rewrite history. They want to get rid of, and history is a way that we learn from our mistakes not to do them again. So if you wipe everything out and just start rewriting it, you're never going to learn what not to do and what to do, you know, with our culture, with our lives. And I think that that's what they're trying to do. And we, in the last few nights, last night I ran into Stephen Piercy at a event at the Union Plaza here in Las Vegas. And they had a comedian come on, and then it was a good friend of mine who's a magician, and he puts comedy in it. His name's Murray Salchuk. He's quite a funny guy. He won, I think he was on America's Got Talent. And anyways, he's been a resident here in Las Vegas for quite a while. And he's just a really down-to-earth, humble human being. So, but the comedian came out, and, you know, he had to watch what he was saying. And a few days before that, we went to an event because me and my wife, we spent a lot of time rescuing dogs. We rescued a couple from Spain that are called Pedancos, and actually a lot of English people, and we have a lot of English friends that we communicate with from the UK that actually saved these dogs. But Spain got so locked down that it was like $5,000 to get a dog from rescue, and they closed a lot of the rescues down. So a lot of animals, you know, they suffered as well, you know. And it's funny, here in Las Vegas, everybody had to comply to staying at home at times, masking up, but the homeless were running rampant, you know, no mask. I mean, you know, they're all over the streets, and, you know, their immune system is probably, they're immune to it, you know, to anything, you know, like George Carlin said in this book that I have on his jokes, you know, we used to swim in the Hudson River and it was full of sewage, and our immune system was so strong we didn't even need polio shots. And I thought that was kind of funny. But that evening, it was they had laughs and drinks. And it was a guy that was on a reality show that was a comedian that went around to all the countries. And basically what he did, he sat down with people and drank until they got wasted to where they got 3 sheets in the wind, so to speak. And so he had to be careful about what he was saying, you know, but not in the presence of the people that most of the people there were baby boomers. So, you know, we're thin skinned. We're not thin skinned, you know, things don't annoy us as much as they annoy the new generation of millennials. And so, you know, and the same thing goes with music. I don't know where things are going. And, you know, you can only just hope to put things out there, and people that are fans of that genre of music and of that time period embrace it and hear what you're saying. However, things are so much different. We don't have much radio anymore, and it's everything's censored, you know. And it's kind of like when you get to this kind of stuff, people don't realize it. It's Karl Marxism. It's, you know, people are going to wake up one day and, you know, I mean, here in America, it's all about their Starbucks. And, you know, they're going to find out their Starbucks is going to cost a wheelbarrow of money, you know, because they just keep printing up cash, you know, to where it's not going to be worth anything anymore, you know. And I think it's happening across the globe with people in the European countries, you know.
Yeah, we're in exactly the same situation. Our prime ministers seems to be able to find money for bridges between Ireland and Scotland. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know where he gets them from. But you know, it's ridiculous.
They need to give the money to the people who are in need of it. If they're going to print up money, then give it to people who you're stopping from doing with their freedom. You know, if you're locking people up, and some people here in the United States, military, healthcare workers, firemen, first responders don't want to take the shot. So they're actually going to fire them, and then they're not going to let them collect unemployment. You know, and why are these people all of a sudden, you know, afraid to take this jab? You know, and like I said, I think it should be your body, your choice. I mean, they've been pushing that, you know, since the beginning of abortions, you know, and that I'm all for people that feel that a woman, that's her choice, you know. And I feel that, you know, even though I was raised as a Catholic, I don't practice as one. I pretty much am a minister, and I'm through the spirit world, you know, because there's something bigger, and I call him God, than the rest of that created this universe. It just didn't poof, here it is, you know. And so I believe there's aliens out there too. I believe that, you know, but he created the universe. So there's other galaxies, you know. We're not just the only galaxy in this universe. There could be another me and you somewhere else.
Oh, please, now. My husband would say, oh, please, God, no, not another me.
That's what my say. But you know, so it's just amazing. But I'm so grateful that we could talk and get together, and I could share with you music that I got going. And all.
What are you doing live wise? I mean, assuming we're all allowed to go out and play soon, what are you going to be doing? Like, are you going to do some more of that raiding the rock vault in the Las Vegas area, or would you like to go wider with that?
Well, I don't know what's going on with that. They say it's coming back. I don't know. I don't know if I think I'll be doing some touring with King Kobra in the States. I really want to tour with Tracy on the Blue Dahlia album, and but Carlos Cavazzo, myself, and Rowan, and along with Carmine, we plan on touring the King Kobra record, and we might do some Rough Cutt shows with Carlos.
Fantastic.
And so there's so much that I've put out and so much going on that I'd like to get out, and I'd like to come back to the UK. I released a record 2020 in April, just as everything closed down, and on a label in Japan. And I had Doug Aldridge on the record, Phil Soussan from who did Shot in the Dark, and with Ozzy on bass. Jay Shellen, who is playing with Yes now, he played some drum tracks. Just numerous friends playing on the album, and Marco Mendoza. We did a remake of Send in the Clowns. That's on YouTube.
Yes, I've seen that.
And,
totally brilliant.
And Vinnie Paul, we recorded that with 4 Carrot Top about 12 or 13 years ago, before Vinnie Paul passed away. And I just found out recently, I thought we had video footage of it, because Vinnie showed up. He always traveled with a posse of guys after his brother was shot. And so he showed up late, but they all showed up in clown outfits, and he had clown dolls. So here we got Carrot Top. He's waiting, and he's, and we're going to record the track with Ira Black, and then who came up with the arrangement, the heavy metal version of it. And then we tracked the song. Then he didn't even know. He heard Judy Collins' version and went, what are we going to do with this song? How are we going to make this heavy? And so Ira Black came up with a great arrangement of it. And then we redid it for the Shortino Make-A-Wish record that came out April 24th, 2020. And then the COVID hit, and it sat. And we were just fortunate to do those videos of Make-A-Wish, and that is with Murray Salchuk. Is him and his, I just married him and the lady that's in the video. Wow. Just recently I married them, and we went to a show the other night, but he did the video Make-A-Wish. It was my wife's idea of we might as well find a couple that are really in love instead of 2 actors, an actor and actress. And he put some magic to some of the lyrics to the song. So that was kind of cool. And doing the video with CT was great. It was supposed to be something, when me and Vinnie Paul talked about it, it was supposed to be something like Sam Kinnison's, Wild Thing. We were going to have a bunch of different, singers and musicians come in. And that's how it was originally going to play off 13 years ago. And then it sat, and the Japanese label said, hey, why don't we redo that? Well, and we'll put some other people on it. I got the drummer from Loudness on it. Peter Baltz from Accept played on the album as well, on a track that was called Feeling Lucky. It's about, gambling in Las Vegas. Amazing bass solo he did in that. And it's a good record. And unfortunately, the shipping from Japan, it took them a year to get their website in English so you could buy the album. Actually, Wendy Dio was trying to get me a release here in the States on, I think it was Rhino Records or Universal, one of the two. And she was playing, she was trying to do a deal, but, nothing was going on. And it's like, it was a really good record that we spent a year working on. He came over here from Japan. Actually, how it all started, my wife, I hadn't been to Japan in 27 years. And just before Raiding the Rock Vault, or just when Raiding the Rock Vault started here in Vegas, I hooked them up, John Payne and them up, to a casino here where they were able to get in. And I knew some people that were able to get Raiding the Rock Vault in a casino and get the show started here. So after that, then we put this record together, and I think my wife had set up something in Japan, and I think the only other time that anyone did this was the original drummer from Iron Maiden, and it was a question and answer thing in Nagoya, and Nagoya, and it was like at a 5,000 seater stadium, and the Japanese had put a band together for me, and I got to do things from Rough Cutt, Quiet Riot, some stuff that I did with Jeff Northrup on Back on Track, and even some King Kobra stuff that I had did 2 records with Carmine on that. So they put actually a collection of, you know, some of the things that and actually a record that I did with some German guys back in '92 called It's About Time. And was just called Shortino, It's About Time. And on the clock, it was 5 till 7. And that was the last song that I had finished. And my flight was actually in Frankfurt. And we were in Frank Farian's studio where they did all the Milli Vanilli stuff. And that was easily 2 hours or more we were in Southwest Germany, and we had to go my flight was out of Frankfurt. I get there and just in the nick of time, and they had given my seat out, which was coach, and bumped me up to business. I just made the flight. So anyways, the Japanese had taken projects that I had done all through my career, and then I performed them with it, you know, and they made it sound just like the record. That's amazing about those guys. And then people asked me questions, and then they asked me to come back and tour. So it was kind of cool. And then out of those tours, the couple tours that I did, it was like old times in the record industry. You know, the last show you had publishing companies show up, record companies show up, wanting to, you know, hey, would you be interested in doing a record? Would you be interested in signing a publishing deal? And blah, 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 you know, just like old days. And it was quite refreshing. And so I left Japan and came home, and Nozumo, the guitar player that was in the bands, who works for this record company, Ward Records, had said, I come and see you. And I go, yeah, sure. Well, he gave me a call, and he was coming in 2 weeks. So showed up at our home here in Las Vegas in 2 weeks and brought his own rig. And we started writing a record. And he left, and then he came back, and he left, and he came back. So I'd say within the year of 2019, we recorded Shortino, Make a Wish, and then released it in 2020, just right after. And thank God we had did the video, and the gentleman who filmed the video was a guy named Gary Arona. And Gary Arona has done a lot of stuff for HBO and Cinemax and Showtime. And so I actually reached out to friends. The lighting guy that did the lighting for Send in the Clowns and the Make-A-Wish videos, we had did this at Danny Coker's studio, which is Desert Moon Production. And Danny Coker has a reality show, I believe is worldwide, called Counting Cars. And it's a Las Vegas show and he has a club here too called Vamped. It's a rock and roll club where all of the, you know, Y&T play, Last in Line, you know, I've played there. Kingdom Come, you know, any national act comes by, and it's one of the best rock clubs in Vegas. So we did the video in his studio Desert Moon, and they also, it's a compound where they film his show, and where they take classic cars and they refurbish them, and sometimes they do them for veterans, or who knows, maybe even for casino, they'll buy a car so they can auction off, or somebody can win it. So anyways, we did the video there. Gary Arona did the video shoot. The lighting director was from a guy named Sean. I think his last name is Jenkins. And he does all the lighting for all of the Cirque shows. So I told him I had this dream that I saw this vision of, the white light, how it is in the video Send in the Clown, and all dark curtains, black everywhere around, and instead of doing some green screen thing. So we tried to make it kind of like Cirque Soleil kind of vibe. And the girl in the video is Tabitha Stevens, and that's Gary's wife, who actually is in the Hall of Fame of porn. She's retired, but she's the female clown, and very beautiful people. And I asked him if he would do it, and he jumped on it. And I'm kind of timid to ask him to do another one, because he did me such a solid on this. And I've had to wait, because I want to do one, Falling from Grace, off of this Blue Dahlia album. And we're thinking about doing Bed of Black Roses, Rough Cutt. We're going to do a video of that. But with the COVID stuff, it's like some people are just afraid to be around people, and I respect that. Fortunately, I asked the good Lord to give it to me, and I had taken a trip to Texas for a friend of mine who wrote a book called Here I Go Again, and he looks like Mr. Clean, who died of ammonia. But he came to my house, and I recorded on a karaoke version of Here I Go Again, and I put it in his key so he could sing it, because that was something that he really wanted to do, because he on his 50th birthday had 50 people come to Kobra, San Lucas, and my wife and I were invited. But we save animals, and we had recently rescued a dog from the meat markets in Korea, because we couldn't get any more dogs out of Spain. We had lost two in 2019, one in 2020. Elvis was a black lab, and he was 13, but we lost Dio, who was from Spain, and he was only 8 years old, and he had a disease that starts with their hind legs, and it eats away. People actually get this, and my wife keeps telling me what the disease is, and I have CRS. I just can't remember stuff anymore. So basically, we had to put both of them down. So we went, and she wanted so we still had Ringo, who was from Spain, and then we have this 11-year-old half coyote, and who's another rescue from Pahrump, Vegas. And she was born in a barn, and she's 11, and she is feisty little thing. She's my little girl that I found in a Chihuahua cage, and she wasn't Chihuahua, but she's like about 50 pounds. She's a medium-sized dog, but she's just the sweetest little thing. She doesn't care for men much. So we got Priscilla from Korea, and she's from a meat market. So then my wife, she wanted to, we hooked up with these retriever rescue out of Las Vegas is what they're called. And that was one of the events that we went to the other night, where they were laughs and drinks. We were raising money for more dogs to be rescued. Well, we did this event, and I reached out to all of the Las Vegas family entertainers, and Phil Susan and Andrew Freeman and myself performed, as well as other performers. And we raised $25,000, and we actually saved 100 dogs.
Oh, well done. Well done.
And these dogs are born in a cage where their legs hang in the cage in wire until they get bigger. And when you see their paws, all of them are like this. Their paws are so big because when they get, and they just feed them kimchi. They never feed them anything else, no water, because kimchi has got the water in it. You know, it's pickled cabbage is what it is. And what they do is they skin the males and alive and cook them, you know. And Priscilla, my wife named her. She's a blonde lab, and she is so beautiful. She was the poster girl for the event, and we did it last October, and we're going to do another one in a theater here called the Mosaic Theater. The owners of that offered us to do it inside, and this was done outside. I think it was in September of last year, and it was just. It was a bit warm here in Las Vegas for that, but it was such an amazing outreach of people that showed up, and people were paying hundreds of dollars for table. We had auctioned off. Michael Goddard, the painter, had painted a special painting to be auctioned off. And it was just really neat how, especially the Las Vegas community, when you are doing something. I want to do something for the homeless vets and homeless people, because that shouldn't even be in a sentence. People that serve our countries and go fight so we can have freedom should not come home and have not a place to go.
No.
You know, just recently I watched one of my favorite old movies, Sergeant York, with Gary Cooper. And, you know, it's a movie in the 40s, but what a great message. He did not want to fight. You know, it was against his religious beliefs. And, you know, he was a conscientious objector to war. And he went over there and got medals from so many medals. And he didn't want anything. You know, when he came back, they wanted, you know, like anything, they wanted to use him for commercials and push their product, this product. And all he wanted was a bottom piece of land in Kentucky, or I think it was Tennessee. You know, they called it bottom land, which was good because he was from the hills, the Appalachians, and they couldn't really grow anything there. So they gave him, the state of Kentucky gave him a home and a nice piece of land. And I think that's what every veteran should get when they come home.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right.
A place to live and a place to hang their hat and a place to be with their family. And if they're disabled, then we need to take care of them. We just don't need to toss them to the wayside, you know?
No.
And it's just a shame. So I'm trying, that's a little tougher than it is with animals. It's just funny. It's funny how people are so anxious to help for animals and animals' cause more than they are for humans, because sometimes they just think that somebody's standing out there asking for $1 or a meal, that, you know, they're making more money than, you know, people that are working a regular job. And maybe there are people out there doing that, and shame on them. You know, that's what I say. When people go, when I was living in Germany with doing the record, It's About Time, because that's what it was. It took It's About Time. We finished it. Took years. I went back and forth. In fact, I was over there when we were doing this, and had auditioned with John Entwistle, Skunk Baxter, and I don't remember the rest of the guys in the band. And it was just before the Rodney King riots here in California, when we lived in California. And but I had auditioned for them, and then I was asked to go to Germany and work on this project. And so we jammed. I got on a plane. They called me and called me and called me. You know, please come back. Come back. The guys want to hang out with you, and they want to work with you and write with you for a while. They really like your voice, and the music was right up my alley, because it was actually it was very R&B related. And the lead singer at the time, who I was replacing, which I was blown away, was Mickey Thomas. And when we did the Raiding the Rock Vault here in Las Vegas, he was one of the guests, but he was one of my favorite singers with Elvin Bishop, especially when he did Fooled Around and Fell in Love. I fell in love with his voice. And so he was the lead singer, but the record was being released on Scotty Brothers, which was a mafia label. So he wanted to be able to release solo albums, and they weren't going to allow that. So they were looking for a singer to replace him, and I auditioned, and they really liked my voice because it really fit the R&B part of this stuff. So I came back the day before the riots, and went down to rehearsal, and I'll never forget it. We rehearsed at a place called Mates, which Rough Cutt started there, and then Dio started there, and a guy named Bobby owns the place, and then Guns N' Roses locked it out, and it was like became the place to rehearse for everyone. And so they had the big room, and quite a large room, and with a big stage on it. And so one side of the drum riser was John Entwistle's rack, and it was double stacked, probably 6 or 8 rows of double stacked cabinets, probably 4 12s in each cabinet. So you got 24 speakers on one side, and then on the other side is Skunk Baxter's rig, and he's got a half stack, and it just looks so unbalanced, but and there's a stool there so Skunk can sit down and play. And I walk into rehearsal, and we start doing Satin Doll, because we're all close to the age, and so we're doing Fly Me to the Moon, and we're doing all these crazy songs just for the heck of it, to break the ice. Because when I first started jamming with them, before I had to leave to Germany, we were I think we were down at West LA Music, in a studio where we were all in the control room, and they were recording my voice as we were doing it live, and you could hear you could hear the bleed of all the instruments coming through, and everybody's in the room except for the drummer. And so they had that to kind of focus on while I was gone, and went, hey, yeah, we really like this guy's voice. So here we are breaking the ice, with doing some crazy songs. And so we start rehearsing, and then the next day, the Rodney King riots break out. And I didn't know that Skunk Baxter was with the ATF. So he shows up a little late for rehearsal, all vest up. He's got his guns in the car and everything. And he'd been down in Hollywood, sitting on the roof of, I think it was Cherokee Recording Studios. I think that's the studios it was. And so they wouldn't burn it down, because they were, when the mob rules, the mob rules. They lose sight of what they're out there doing, and unfortunately, we saw a lot of that going on here in America all last year, with people tearing down things for You know, there's a lot easier ways to communicate than destroy things. You know, I mean, peace and sitting down talking, it seems like you can get a lot further, you know. However, whatever happened, and then, you know, everyone has their own opinion on it. And so anyways, he shows up and I'm blown away that he's in the ATF. And I've never actually shared this story with anyone but you, actually, about being in a band with John Entwistle, which was, you know, that's an amazing thing. And just in Skunk Baxter, that unfortunately the project never got off the ground. I think I ended up going back to Germany to finish It's About Time record. And the project fell apart. I don't know why it fell apart, but it didn't seem to work out for all of us. So, you know, it was an interesting thing to be in a band for like about 2 weeks with those guys. And some of the music was just really great. I don't know whatever happened to any of that.
I was going to ask, I mean, was there any tapes?
No.
No.
I think they had some rough stuff that I had did, but I don't even know wherever any of that went. I don't know what happened to the project. I think they thought about maybe even finding a younger singer, but then a younger singer would have made them look older than they were. You know, I'm really blessed that at my age, 68, that I've, you know, still got teeth, hair, not too many wrinkles. I'm really grateful.
No, you're looking good. You're looking very good, Paul.
So I was looking pretty good back then, and it you know, at least I related to them as far as age wise, because we weren't that far off in age, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 years difference, but mentally and musically, we all were music minded in the same direction. In fact, I think if I would have been born 4 or 5 years earlier, I would have been in that pack of Clapton, because those are that music, Free, Zeppelin, you know, I mean, Deep Purple, Whitesnake, all those bands were Rainbow, you know, Black Sabbath, all of those bands were what I grew up listening to and were my peers. And I got into heavy metal, but it wasn't really the same as that we looked at. The 80s was a little different, and then it got really kind of as it got on, you know. And like the record companies took over instead of letting the music guys go in the studios. Like, you know, late 60s, you had Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. Those artists were put in the studio and were able to just sit in the studio and come up with their ideas. I remember reading something or seeing maybe a biography or discography on Led Zeppelin, how they didn't let the label come in at all and hear any of their material while they were recording it. Oh, let us listen to what are you guys at? No. Page said, here it is when it was done. And, you know, Plus Atlantic, I think, gave them that. Till they, you know, swan song. However, you know, that's the difference between a lot of that music in that time period was different than the music in the 80s. The music, I think, in the late 60s and, you know, I'd say mid 70s leading into the 80s was, especially with bands and stuff, I think they got a lot more freedom. I think Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, they all passed away in the Doors with Jim Morrison. Yeah, you know, they passed away with nothing, you know. because the record companies gave them whatever they wanted while they were recording. And so they just kind of used up whatever monies came in, and whatever they wanted, they gave to them. And they really didn't have a budget, you know, to where like in the 80s, and it was like, okay, the record company is giving you so much for the producer and so much for the recording, and what was left over is for the artist. Oh, we'll give you a little tour support, but you got to pay it all back. So with those folks, I think they got the freedom of going in and recording, because the music business, I think they were all new at it as well. Everybody was new.
Well, yeah, and back then, I think record companies and the sort of A&R guys were so out of their depth for much of the time. They'd never experienced this rock and roll, had they? You know, and all the entourage that came with it. I mean, like Jimi Hendrix when he was recording Electric Ladyland, you know, he brought his friends in, friends of friends, the friend's hairdresser, you know, and everybody just piled in the studio. And I think that the record companies were just like whatever, you know.
People getting high, and you know,
yeah.
And when you do that, actually, sometimes, you know, I'm not pushing for people to get buzzed or anything, but some of the greatest things that have been written, even from Poe to Beethoven, they buzzed on something. You know, it opens up that creative floodline in the brain, you know, and not to push drugs to anyone, but you know, I smoke a little weed, but it opens up, it gets me in the mood to want to write something if I'm not in the mood. And there are people out there that are brilliant and don't need anything to just write something brilliant without getting high. But basically, most of the people from our generation were experimenting with drugs and, you know, or booze, you know.
Hence the Doors. The Doors was the doors of perception.
Yeah, and it just kind of it made them relax maybe a little bit more. You know, I know people that get so frightened before they go on stage that I would have never expected that from certain people. I didn't know that of Jim Morrison. He was petrified about going on stage. I never knew that until, you know, later on in my life. But, you know, it seems to come natural for me. And so when you think that it comes natural for you, I mean, the first few minutes, everyone's petrified because you don't know how you're going to be received, especially if you're touring. If you're playing a club on a regular basis, you kind of know how you're going to be received, because you pace yourself. It might be 4 hours you're playing, and you know, your fans and your friends or whoever that are locals come in, and they know what kind of music you're playing, and they, you know, they're there because they're there to have a good time. When you're touring on the road or warming up for someone, you don't know what the audience is going to be like. You don't know if they're going to throw stuff at you. You don't know if they're going to embrace you. And so, you know, there's that first few minutes that you walk out there and you go, I'm petrified if they're going to like us. And then boom, you know. I remember doing with Rough Cutt the Reading Festival, and at headliners, we had been touring all over the UK, and we were touring with Saxon, and we were playing in clubs and stuff, and we were performing in jeans and t-shirts, right? And we do the Reading Festival, and Saxon's headlining after 3 days. It's the last day, I think, and they're headlining. The Outlaws are on there. Simply Red is performing. I mean, you know, Rough Cutt's performing. And just before we go on, I think it was Simply Red was on. And here, you know, it's a sausage fest. You know, I mean, just guys with leather jackets have been out there. It's been raining for 3 days. Some of the women that are out there, you know, they're just as, you know, metaled out as the guys. And we come out in, you know, red, white, and blue and star. I had pants with blue pants with silver stars on them. And I was saying, I really think that we should just wear jeans and t-shirts to this event. And Wendy Dio was the manager, and she was the manager of Ronnie and Rough Cutt. And she goes, no, I want you to wear the things you guys wore in your video, which was all of these colorful, you know, Ray Brown, so to speak, who actually did all the Judas Priest outfits, Bon Jovi, and he did, you know, he was like the guy to go to, this British designer, and him and Fleur, you know, I guess Whitesnake used Fleur, but it seemed like all the 80s bands were having these designers put their clothes together, and it would have been a much brighter move, I think, for us to go out there under the circumstances, either being all leather or just jeans and t-shirts, because I spent most of the time hitting stuff out of the air, because it's funny, because after the show, there were a couple guys I saw up front, and they were backstage, and I was talking to them in the tent, and it just so happens that at that festival, I thought I had jet lag and the flu, and so, which I didn't. I ended up getting hepatitis on the road, and it wasn't a contagious one, which was great, but it's still. I had a feeling I had something, because in my younger days, I had mononucleosis, and hepatitis is similar to mononucleosis. You just don't have any energy. You have a fever maybe. And so I were having these symptoms, and I knew back when I got mono that I could only get that once in your life. But so I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I figured out, well, the tiredness and the fatigue, jet lag, maybe I picked up a cold and I got a fever, whatever. And it was really weird. As soon as I get on stage and under the lights, the fever would break. And I would feel great, you know. And it just so happened that my body said, don't drink anymore alcohol. I wasn't really eating anything but fruit and stuff. So it was like my body was telling me things. And so anyways, I'm sitting here talking to these guys, and I'm going, you know, I was watching you guys. You guys were getting piles of fruit and, you know, bottles and of stuff in them and stuff. And on one side of the stage, you're piling up the stuff, paraphernalia to throw at us, and on the other side there's another group of guys that are getting this stuff. And I said, I spent more time going back and forth knocking stuff out of the air that they were throwing, and the poor drummer got the worst of it, you know. He got the bottles that were probably from this. I don't know what, you know.
Now in Reading it would be.
Yeah, and you know, and I'm talking to these guys, and I said, you know, we really would have sounded better if everybody was throwing stuff at us. I said, I felt like a Doberman pincher, and then they go, you know, we throw things at everybody. We throw things and if we like them, we throw things at them. If we don't like them, we throw things at them.
Yeah, yeah. It's the British way.
I was talking to the guys in the Outlaws, and they were playing Green Fields and High Tides. You know, it's a real long song with guitars, 3 guitars, so 3 solos. And I said, well, we got fruit and some beer cans, and one guy got hit with a brush. Maybe they were kind of giving him a hint that he needed to comb his hair. I don't know. And they said, well, we got potatoes. and some beer mugs or plastic mugs. I says, wow, you guys could have had dinner between the two of us. We had fruit stuff. But anyways, I ended up we home after that festival, and I was on the road still, and still having this fatigue. and they couldn't figure out what it was. So they had sent me home to California we had a night off. And I think we were touring with Dio, and the nights that we weren't touring with Dio, we were doing offshoots in bars and rock clubs, whatever. And so they sent me back Beverly Hills. I go see a doctor, and they take urine and they take blood, and then I have to get on a flight the next. And he gives me a shot. He gives me a shot. He goes, I'm going to give you a shot. What I get the real old guys to make them pep up. So it's got vitamin C in it, B12, and who else knows what's in it? But I feel amazing, right? For the first time in months, you know, I feel like, wow, I feel great. I don't feel so terrible and whatnot. And so I get on the plane and get to my connecting flight. And of course, this is before you have cell phones. So I go to a payphone at the airport in Utah. And I'm supposed to get a connecting flight that flies me to Kansas City. And we're playing that night, Rough Cutt. And I don't know if we were playing with Dio, warming up for him or not. We might have been, or it just might have been. And I think we were doing the warm up for the Sacred Heart tour. So I called the doctor because I knew they got my urine test back. I didn't think they would have had my blood back that quick. So I call and I go, this is Mr. Shortino. I'm just checking on to see if what my results are of my test. Well, they said, well, let me check here. We don't have your blood back yet, but we did get your urine back, and you have hepatitis B. And I immediately felt like terrible. You know, I already felt great, but it's a right. And I'm thinking hepatitis. I've only known a few people that have had it, and it was highly contagious. They got it from shooting heroin, dirty needles. So I, you know, never doing heroin or nothing like that. I was totally blown away, and immediately my mind, you know, it takes off with you. You know, if you get cold now, people automatically think I got COVID, you know, because if you look up the flu symptoms in COVID, they're all the same. I had, for a slight bit of a moment here, I had double vision because I was working on a song on an iPad, and all of a sudden I was seeing double. So I covered one eye, and what basically I looked up double vision, and the first three things in double vision were the first three things of COVID. I had lost my, you know, my equilibrium and stuff like that. And that's part of it. So, but I didn't let my mind think of that. I went and saw the doctor. I didn't have it. Saw my eye doctor. He said I overworked my eyes. So it was just interesting. So it was amazing to know what the mind does. And immediately, as soon as I got off the phone, I hung up and I asked for a golf cart to take me to my plane, you know, because I didn't want to waste my energy. And from that point on, they actually flew me from gig to gig, which was actually more tiring. And I could hear everybody having a great time. Right after the gig, I went to my room. You know, we were I think we were staying in the French Quarter and playing New Orleans with Dio. And I got there the night before. I could hear all the great music going on in the French Quarter. Couldn't leave the room.
Sucks.
You know, but had some interesting times, you know, on the road. But that Reading Festival, I'll never forget those guys. And I told them, I said, you know, would you guys, because we were at the bar talking, and I said, you know what, you guys stand under that light. Let me throw a few things at you and see how you. That's when they told me, you know, if we love you, we throw stuff at you.
Yeah, it's a very British thing. We do quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think it happened to Geezer Butler in Donington. I think Ronnie James Dio shared that with me. When
they did get it quite bad that year.
Yeah, but I sure missed the UK. We were over there not too long ago doing the rock vault thing but I'd like to come back there and
please do,
and play some of the music. And some of my favorite stuff is with Tracy right now, which is she just kind of hit my roots. I've always been into the blues, and the record is kind of like a cross between Gary Moore and early Zeppelin. So it's right. It hits me right where, you know, my roots are. I grew up listening to, in fact, I have a funny story. When I was 16 and I was playing in bars in Glendale, California, and my buddy, best friend, was playing guitar, and he could play guitar like Joe Pass. He was a jazz guy. And here we are in junior high, and my first song I learned on the guitar was House of the Rising Sun, you know, by the Animals, and it had every chord in it. So I thought I was a really good guitar player, but not really. So I had been singing, you know, when I was a kid. My mom was a singer. So I met this guy, Dave Smith, in junior high, and we became best friends, put a band together, and met a drummer who was overage, and we were playing in bars. When I was 16 and 17 years old, he was a year older than me. So this buddy of mine lived up the street from my apartment, and said, I got the harmonica player staying at my house from Muddy Waters. And I says, oh, really? And in Hollywood at that time, before the theater became the Aquarius Theater, it was called the Kaleidoscope. And they had music there. They had like the Sons of Chaplin. They, you know, at that time, it was really cool. You could go to civic centers and, you know, see Johnny Winters, and you could see, you know, just a lot of really good music for hardly anything. But hardly anything back there was a lot of money. It isn't today, but $10, I think I saw at the Palladium, Brownsville Station, Leonard Skinner, and then there were 4 bands. Slade was headlining, and Joe Walsh's band, I'm trying to think of it.
The James Gang.
James Gang, thank you. God, I can't remember everything. Four bands, you know, and Brownsville Station did Smoking in the Boys Room. They're the original guys that did that. And here, for, you know, 4 bands for $10. You know, it's unheard of. So anyways, to get back to this buddy of mine says, come down to, you know, I get you passes. And so we go down to the Kaleidoscope, and it's in Hollywood. Eventually it became the Aquarius Theater, where they showed Hair, and then it became Star Search, same theater. And so we go down there, and I go backstage, and I get to meet Muddy Waters, and I get to meet T-Bone Walker, and they come over, and the guy that's my neighbor, that the harp player was staying at his house. This guy's house, he was like a hoarder, but it was all 45s and 78s through the whole house. I mean, he was like a big blues guy, Stone guy, you know, all of the old blues guys, you know, Sonny Char. I mean, it's unbelievably, I was gifted this whole set of blues guys, and they look like cartoons on the front from Capitol Records. I knew someone there that gave me this whole catalog of all these blues guys, and Willie Dixon, I mean, people I never even heard of. And so anyways, sat there and drank Southern Comfort with Muddy Waters and T-Bone Walker, and got to meet these guys, not even knowing who they really were. And then later on, I did a blues record called Paul Shortino and the Rhythm Junkies, and we did a Muddy Waters song on there live. It's called Same Thing. Why do men go crazy when they see a woman with a red dress on? Mm-hmm. It's a really cool song. Why do men go crazy? And that's the way I sang it, you know. But what an amazing experience that was. And I was really fortunate to be most of my friends in school were going to school, and here I was playing in bars, seeing how adults were doing their, playing their games, picking up people. We actually filmed it was a 3D porno, and we didn't know it was a porno. Me and this same guy. I was 17 at the time, and he was 18, or I still was 16 and he was 17. But the drummer was 27, and they asked us to show up, and we're just playing. And that's just part of the movie, that they just walk into this place that we're playing. And the place we were playing at the time was in Glendale, California. It was called Under the Ice House. And there's a place in Pasadena called the Ice House. And they had rock bands play there, maybe folk music at one time, and comedians. And then Under the Ice House was in Glendale, and they had like rock bands playing on top of this. It was a Beacons building, which is a storage place. So in the ceiling, they had a World War I plane hanging. They had sawdust all over the floor. It was a huge facility, whale boats to sit in, with, like a bench and table in the whale boats, and all kinds of crazy stuff hanging everywhere. I mean, just, it was a really cool, trippy place. So we were, they came in and saw it, the casting people, the people that are searching for places to film things. And so that's how we ended up in this porno. And we didn't know it was a porn. It was a 3D porn. And nowadays it would be soft porn. It was nothing. Yeah. Back then in 1968 or whatever, it was considered XXXX band San Francisco, playing at the Pussycat theaters in Hollywood, whatever. We actually got $15 a piece to do our scene. It cost us $10 with our parental guidance to go see the movie, and we had to watch half the movie before our part came. And so we went with the guitar players. His name was Dave Smith, and his dad, Jimmy Smith, it was a musician, and his mother, Franny, went with us, and his dad couldn't handle it anymore. He ended up leaving and going across the street to a bar, and his mother sat there as we watched in 3D pornography until our part came up, which had nothing to do with anything. It was just two girls coming into the bar, and that was it. And when you could hear us playing a little bit of music, and we were playing some blues thing. I don't remember Spider in My Web. I think it was a 10 years after song, so. But yeah, that's kind of a lot of my history from a young lad all the way up to where I'm at now.
And what a fascinating history it has been. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been fantastic talking to you. I really have got to let you go, though. I could talk to you all night, but before I do let you go, though, is there anything you'd like to say to your many, many fans out there?
Well, I would like for them all to stay safe and healthy, and may God bless you all. And please check out the new Rough Cutt, Blue Dahlia on DDR Records Music Group. They're worldwide. I think you just have to order it online. And if you're interested in the Shortino Make a Wish, that is with Ward Records out of Japan only, and they're shipping it. And soon I'll be coming out with a King Kobra record, and you can go to paulshortino.com is my website, and I'm on Facebook. They took me off of Instagram, said I was impersonating myself, so I lost thousands of fans. So I started a new one. They didn't give it back to me, and I'm on Twitter. So please reach out to me. I love connecting with people and sharing good information about what's going on in the world, and good music, and God bless everyone. And thank you so much, Kerry, for your time.
Thank you, Paul, for your time. It's been fantastic talking to you. I must catch up with you again later on when the King Kobra record's out, and hopefully all this silliness has gone away, and we can talk about happier things.
I pray every day for everybody who is suffering and who are having rough times, and that's in my prayers every night. I definitely reach out and talk to the Almighty and ask Him to, those who are suffering out there and those who are sick and those who are having a rough time, please wrap your arms around them, God, and make life a little more pleasant for them during this time of inconvenience and trauma that we're going through. And I'll send you a lot of stuff. I'll be sending.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul.
All right. God bless you, Kerry, and
God bless you too.
And I will talk to you soon. Okay.
Bye-bye, love. Keep safe and well.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Living in fear with the news today, the world outside is crumbling away. Keep the faith for the best outcome. It's better to stand than to turn and run. Ha! It's a new day, it's a new state of mind. Turn the blues, yeah, into red wine. Riding like lightning, thunderborn, running down rainbow after the storm. Yeah. We can rise by lifting each other. All together, we will succeed. Yeah. Look for the facts, read between the lines. Find the truth in a world so blind. Smell the sea, kiss the sky. There's so much to see before you die. Working together can help find a way. Not all the storms just fade away. A lot of tough times leave a river of pain. Sometimes you just gotta let it rain. We can rise by lifting each other. All together, we will succeed. Yeah. We can rise by lifting each other. All together, we will succeed. Yeah. The bad times won't last, 'cause the good times will be here.